Are you tired of projects derailing because no one's on the same page? As you're going through this, let me tell you what's going to happen. All eyes are going to be fixed on you. But what if the real problem isn't about the plan, but how it's brought to life? Are you ready to become the facilitator your team desperately needs? In today's episode, we're going to discuss the secrets of facilitating a project so you can have the necessary impact. Family, when I think about this, about being a facilitator as a project manager, that to me is one of those foundational aspects. Having the ability to lead a team through understanding what are our goals, understanding how to deal with conflict, understanding how to facilitate when there are conflicts in meeting schedules because we're operating in a global scale. Facilitation is key. This is why I always say a project manager is multifaceted, meaning you have to have different capabilities to lead projects effectively. So let's get into my 8 point framework. Point number one: define clear project roles. Listen, a facilitator must ensure that project goals are well defined and understood by all of the stakeholders to avoid ambiguity as well as misalignment. A lot of times, what happens, families, is that project managers, we won't take the time to really articulate verbally the goals and make sure they're well defined and that the stakeholders know where we're going. They understand the plan. What normally happens is that we're in such a hurry. We're like, okay, look, here's the goals. This is what we're doing. Go read it on your own accord and come back if you have any questions. And let me be honest. Majority of the time, people are not going to come back and ask you questions. Well, why was that? Because of the fact of is if you didn't build a team or build a good project team and a good stakeholder, good stakeholders to really allow that transparency, that adaptability, that it sounds like I'm giving you the 3 pillars for Scrum, but no, seriously, having that ability, family, to really lead a team, to have a open, I hate to use the word open door policy or those type of things. But seriously, you need to build that. And because if you don't build that, what tends to happen is project teams and stakeholders, they won't come back and ask you questions. So it's up to us to lead them by going over the project goals, making sure they understand the project goals, finding ways to pull out of them what they may want to ask in front of the group, but they're a little nervous. Here's my actionable tip. Host a kickoff meeting to collaboratively define project goals and document them in your project management plan. Point number two: ensure stakeholder alignment. If we don't get our stakeholders aligned, we're in trouble. So misaligned stakeholders can definitely derail the progress of the project. So facilitation helps bridge those gaps and creates a consensus. Here's my actionable tip. Use stakeholder mapping to identify expectations and host alignment sessions to address conflicting priorities. One of the things that I really love is hosting my alignment sessions. There's different terms for it. One of the terms I've used just now, alignment session. Also, I call it just, hey, I just want to check in with you. Hey, this is where we're going. What questions, concerns? And sometimes it depends how big the project team or how big the stakeholders are. Many of them is. It depends on how I address this. I more or less like doing one-on-ones more than anything versus group. The reason why I like one-on-ones is because of the fact of we can have a more genuine conversation of what they're really thinking. And that way maybe the questions that they would have asked in a group, now they can feel comfortable asking me one-on-one versus in a group because they don't want to look like they may not know something or asking that whole, I'm asking a dumb question. No. One-on-ones are so effective when it comes to great stakeholder alignment. Point number three: build trust among your team. Listen, facilitating trust creates a positive team environment. Every environment that I worked in where there was trust facilitated, it was just the collaboration. Like you didn't have to praw and pull and beg and we had collaboration happening at the highest level that I've ever seen in my career because of the thing of facilitating trust. And it just built a really positive environment. Here's my actionable tip: organize team building activities early in the project. And most of all, Encourage open and transparent communication. Point number four, facilitate risk management discussions. One of the things you have to understand that we as project managers can get caught up in forgetting about the main thing. What's the main thing? Risk and issues. And issue doesn't happen until it flips into an issue. So it could have been documented as a risk, and then all of a sudden it flipped into an issue. But identifying and addressing risk proactively prevents costly surprise later. Here's my actionable tip. Hold regular risk review sessions where the team can discuss potential risks, mitigation strategies, as well as contingency plans. One of the things I like to do as well is every meeting that I have, depending on the team. So if there's a team, no, okay, it doesn't matter who the team. So every meeting I have, I always will have a risk item or a high level question to say, hey, this risk is coming up next week or next day. Could you tell me where we are? Is this thing going to flip into an issue, or are the mitigation controls or strategies we have in place going to be effective enough? If not, then we may need to work on this. So, well, that's one of the first things I want to get in front of the team is always risk and issues. Point number five, ensure effective resource allocation. Misallocated resources can lead to bottlenecks, and most of all, family, it can burn out your team as well as stakeholders. But an exceptional facilitator ensures resources are distributed optimally. And what that means is saying that if I have 5 people on my team and only 2 people are doing the majority of the work, I need to find out a way to spread that work around, or I need to get rid of those resources and bring some resources in that can support these 2 resources, because I've watched it over and over again how, and I'm guilty of it too. I've seen it. It was funny. They call it the hero complex. It's, yeah, I'll take on everything, which is great. But when you have a team, you need to learn to lean on your team. You need to have the trust in your team and be there to support them if they make a mistake, which they're going to do, and be okay with it. Here's my actionable tip. Review resource utilizations regularly and often, and adjust assignments based on project priorities as well as workload. Point number 6, facilitate decision-making process. Projects require timely decisions to progress efficiently, family. Facilitation, how this works for you is it ensures decisions are well informed as well as supported. Here's my actionable tip. I always recommend using a RAID Q log or a decision matrix or even voting techniques during meetings to achieve consensus very quickly. Point number 7, manage conflict throughout the life cycle. Again, manage conflict throughout the life cycle. Conflicts can arise at any stage of a project. A skilled facilitator resolves them constructively, as well as, I will also say this, the facilitator also puts their emotions aside. Yeah, you're like, how can you put your emotions aside from a conflict? Because your emotion, I'm about to show you. If there is conflict happening between 2 people on the project team, if I come in emotionally filled and I'm yelling and screaming just like them, we're not getting anywhere. And not only that, I'm holding up the rest of the team. So someone has to take a step back so we could take 2 steps forward. So as the project manager, is your accountability, your responsibility when you see this happening. Because not all conflict is bad. I want to be clear. It's not all bad. But when it gets to a point where it becomes either distractive or disrespectful, it is your role, your job, your accountability to step in and meet with these individuals one-on-one or have them get together in a room. Hey, what is going on? Help me understand why we keep having these conflicts during the meeting and it's not helping make the project better. Here's my actionable tip. Use active listening and meditation, or I say mediation techniques, to address conflicts promptly and focus on shared goals. Point number 8, drive accountability for deliverables. That's our thing right there, family. Ensuring team members take ownership of their key responsibilities and making sure the project schedule stays up to date once it's baseline. Here's my actionable tip. Track deliverables in a shared tool like Microsoft Project, Smartsheets, Asana, Monday.com. There's plenty of them out there. And follow with individuals or teams to address any particular delays. Here's my bonus, family. Then I'll go into my 3 transformational remarks and I'll send you on your way. Celebrate milestones and achievements. Recognizing accomplishments motivates the team. It also boosts morale, family, especially during long projects where you're on a project was going to be a couple years. Having that ability to boost morale to let them know, hey, we're getting closer and closer. I would also, here's my actionable tip, organize milestone celebration or just a simple acknowledgement during a meeting just to show your appreciation for what your team has done for you. Here's my three transformational remarks. Number one, define clear project goals. Like I said, by doing that, here's my actionable tip for that was basically make sure you, when you're getting ready to start a new project, that you host a kickoff meeting and you document the kickoff meeting as well as, most of all, sometimes people forget, is provide the slides if there's any slides or any particular documentation associated with that kickoff meeting so the stakeholders and the project team can go back and reflect on that. Number two, manage conflicts throughout the life cycle. Like I said, leveraging different mediation techniques, as well as the most easiest thing you can do is listen. Matter of fact, active listening, not trying to form a response without hearing completely what someone is saying, but just being present and hearing what is actually going on. And my last and final one is ensure stakeholder alignment using stakeholder mapping to identify expectations. As you guys know, a lack of expectation comes frustration. You get frustrated when you are expecting one thing and then the other thing is delivered. Okay, you don't like that. Here's the remix. You become frustrated when you had high hopes or you were thinking that it was going to go one way and it didn't go that way because of the person who communicated the expectations wasn't clear enough. Family, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I go by the name of ED. For all you smart and intelligent folks out there, listen, that just simply means Ed. Until next time.